of the Hobby Hammercast. Miles, your hair's looking nice, mate. Don't you worry about it.
Thank you. I'm slicking the sweat through it because it's absolutely boiling. It's 10 to 8 on a Thursday evening. What's the weather? I mean, I'm sure there are people out there in Texas or maybe like in a desert. They're like, oh, that's not hot. But it's hot for us, okay? Leave us alone. It's 21 degrees at the moment. It's 21 degrees. I'm sure people out there are laughing.
22.
22 degrees. That's not hot.
I know.
I live in an oven. Okay, great. I'm glad. I feel phenomenal that but it's just appreciate that other human beings have other like a range of other emotions as well. And my emotion right now is that I'm hot.
Mate, I am on my third t-shirt today because I can't record in the t-shirts that I was in. Oh, horrible. Especially the humidity. I'm glistening.
I'm glad I don't work around other people. I'm just here by myself, so I can sit and stew and smell however I like, because the smell-o-vision isn't a thing, not just yet anyway. I'm trying to lower my body temperature with the Brewdog as well. Official sponsors of Hobby Hammer, Brewdog.
For legal reasons, we are not sponsored by Brewdog. Though, actually, if we could get any brewery to sponsor us, which would it be, Miles? Would it be Brewdog that you'd want?
Carling.
You're Carling.
Carling. It's not what I'd want. But it's what we get.
Fucking hell, as if you think of us that low. As if you think of us that low.
Or Shandy Bass.
Right, I'm just going to skip on from that. I'm not even going to make a further comment. Right, we've got two things in the news this week.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, one is massively extensive, and one is just a little nugget.
Yeah, a fun little skim over that I'm just going to mentally block myself off from that conversation. You can take that one. It's dwarves.
Right, should we just do that one then, quick?
Yeah, let's do dwarves. Okay, so what's in this article? What's so good about it? We got dwarves coming up. Are they on pre-release this weekend?
If everyone's listening to this, because when does this go live? Like
Saturday evening.
Right, Saturday evening.
Yeah.
So everyone has either got their dwarves ordered or missed out on their dwarves already.
Yeah. So sold out.
Yeah, and the rumours we've got the royal host, as well as like an engineering force for the dwarfs that JTY, I believe it's in this article, or a different one, goes into having like squadrons of gyrocopters and a gyrocopter army, and then there's Ungrim making a return as a special character like we've seen the model of already. What do you think of that? Did we go over that model at the time?
You don't
even look at how little he cares.
I was checked out.
Corner.
I was thinking of Rammstein music videos.
But like the Snow White one, Son, where they're all the mini dwarfs.
No, one of the later ones. I think it's called like The End. Like it's operatic, where they play sort of like. See, this is how interesting the dwarves are. We ended up talking about Rammstein music videos from like 20 years ago.
I like the dwarves.
They're in sort of like S&M gear and like black. They look like they're trying to take off the Matrix.
Are you narrowing down any
Rammstein video? I guess I'm not.
It's got S&M and they're shooting things. It's just any of them.
It's one of their videos. Yeah.
Should I pull it up and we'll watch the video?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, the full thing. Let's demonetize this. I don't care.
So Miles has said I'm not in fact doing that. Fair enough, Miles. Fair enough. Yeah. So, but Dwarf Hordes, I quite like it. He sounds like a more aggressive dwarf army. Like we'll obviously see if that plays out in the dwarf book. Like one of the problems is that they're too slow for dwarves to have an aggressive dwarf army. The amount of buffs you'd need combat-wise, I think, to make it work properly is quite a lot until you get to someone that's just an ungodly player. Do you know, like, to be able to make that work? So it'll be interesting to see that. Yeah, and then it's almost like a joke, as if they like, well, you can have a gyrocopter army, like everyone lost their minds about at the start of the old world. Maybe there is the 15 gyrocopter list about to make its way into the game. But
do people play the game like that though? Do people go out and buy 15 gyrocopters as essentially sort of like a joke meme army? It's an expensive hobby, and you have to spend time building it, assembling it, painting it.
because of, I think, the strong tournament scene for the old world and fantasy
Right.
just as in general, there will be a number of people playing that. Like as with the last tournament that I went to, me and Phil, we played every matchup had vampire counts.
Vampire counts.
Yeah. And then again, I was playing Bretonians, which although they're not doing like the best in tournament play, they're certainly not bad. They're certainly not bad, and the like Duke on Pegasus is a nightmare. I know he's an asshole for taking him. But also, like I think at club level, if you just go down your club, play some games, it's not as much being played that, because if someone rocks up with 15 gyrocopters, you go, oh, good game, mate. I'm going to play somewhere else. Like, seen a bit.
Yeah.
So
at what point does the joke within? What point do you stop laughing at your own joke?
Yeah, and how much have you invested into your gyrocopter army just to get like turned down? Because it's also not winning any tournaments.
No.
But I think
nobody do that. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. Just don't.
I don't think any of these, right, because we're covering like this and Necromunda, if no one else gets today. I don't think any Games Workshop game should be treated as, obviously if you find enjoyment in that, do it. But I don't think any of them are balanced enough that you can be like, I'm going to just
God, that's a debate in and of itself, isn't it? Yeah, I'm a firm believer that this game, because it comes from like an RPG route, trying to play it as like cutthroat tournament-y style, the two jibe too much, and I think modern 40k has gone more in that route to make it sort of like that ultra competitive, almost like gaming scene, and it's really off-putting to casual people or like older people who can't read, like myself.
Yeah.
But then again, like if I don't hang around in those crowds, I don't converse with those people. Like I'm not part of those communities, and I very much doubt people who are a part of those communities listen to this. So I can tell them to go out and get a life.
Well, I think one of the things is there will be a number of people listening that play hard, but with a sense of humor about it, and just a sense of fun, and I think that's the difference in, say, like the list that you take, like club wise, like, or when you're just playing your mates, has also got that bit of recognition that if it is a super horrible list, they will find that enjoyable, like that social contract, because that is just down to interpretation into it as well, rather than it being like, oh, there's only one way to have this social contract. Anyway, this is a fucking like heady conversation.
That's the topic in and all of itself.
This is a heady conversation.
I'm too hot to argue it. Shall we talk about the much superior releases that have been coming our way this week in Necromunda?
Superior. Yeah, shall we start on the July the 16th 2-player campaign announcement for the Hive Secundus box? It's like the general overview of the box. And essentially it just breaks down the campaign, and we get some nice pieces of art, a bit of background, like what you get in the box.
It gives you a sense of what this box set is, right? I mean, we theorized that this is sort of like it has the feel of like a dungeon explorer, haunted mansion, horror-esque aspect to it. They're trying to locate this in a very specific place and time. This isn't generic gangs. This isn't generic Underhive. This is a lot more rundown, ruinous, and you take the role of an explorer in this. So it's a very different mindset from what we have from the Ashwaits, with these large, open, Mad Max-esque arenas. Very different from Necromunda Hive Primus, where it's kind of like a mismatch of, or like a mashup of old westerns and Judge Dredd 2000 AD. What book or piece of media can we compare this to? Maybe Aliens? Closer in nature to Aliens. Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
and one thing I think it's a little bit. He's reminding me of Space Hulk in the one
Yeah.
side you get in these Van Saar and an Horus,
Hmm.
an Horus.
Horus, yes.
My brain's shutting down. An Horus, right? And the other side you get in the Gene Stealer side,
Mm.
and they're being described with having points rather than having like the usual credit system.
Yeah.
They're getting like I'm going to call it manpower points, but it's like malstrain
Man, okay.
malstrain points. Malstrain
Uh-huh.
points.
Milestone,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's how you add to your gang. So it feels more of a like
This is unique,
a
right?
GM player arrangement of the two people
Yeah.
rather than a player head to head
Mm.
wider campaign. I think is what I'm getting from these articles,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
quite like you would used to play Space Hulk and stuff like that, which is
Hmm.
quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. And also released on the 16th of July is an overview of the lore, the context behind this piece as well. And they talk about how Secundus being the jewel of Necromunda, how it was an epicenter of not only trade, but also the sciences, which really nice callback. I wasn't aware of this, but the rogue Magos biologist, Hermatius of the Adeptus Mechanicus, heretic character, was introduced in White Dwarf 145 all the way back in 1992.
Oh, wow.
He was a target of a Space Crusade scenario campaign. So, I mean, it dovetails rather nicely with the Space Hulk comparison that you made.
Yeah. Now, do you know what? I've not actually really in depth read through this because every time I've tried to read through it,
Hmm.
I get distracted by the artworks.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Now,
that's not such a bad thing.
because like, I've sort of like got on the drip feed like what is going on
Yeah.
and like the reason for being there. Do you know like the plot hook that you're gonna get with
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
game of
Hmm.
like go and discover technology and
Hmm.
there's gene stealers there that are gonna hunt you down in the dark.
Yeah. So there was the rogue biologist. Oh God, we're gonna have so many wordy words and pronunciation errors here. But he was doing experiments on Xenos creatures, and one of them was a patriarch, gene stealer patriarch that managed to escape. And after the inquisitorial agents tried to capture and kill it, they decided, no, we can't control this. The epidemic spread beyond our control. Let's shut things down and then hit it with gravitic warheads to make sure it wouldn't spread. But of course,
It
it
might have
survived.
done. Of course,
The
it might have done.
patriarch might have
Yeah.
survived, and we get these wonderful images. I mean, talking about the art, it all has this gloomy, dark, bluish tint to it, shot through with very strong OSL in terms of the Auras, the Spires, and the Van Saar.
Yeah.
So if you if you can't read and you do nothing but look at the images, you get the impression of this being, a complete unlit, almost like sunken underwater.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's because that's what sort of stood out to me is when I'm going to end up painting this set.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe one of the things that I want to do rather than like got a sickly human-esque skin looking to the
Mm-hmm.
gene stealers and the gene stealer cultists. Potentially
Mm-hmm.
this like very sharp transition
Mm-hmm.
between the light and the dark and
Mm-hmm.
having the blue underpainting, the legend
Yeah.
TM
Uh,
included in there.
yeah. I mean, this thing is set up for underpainting. It really, really is set up. So underpainting, just to review very briefly, it's a style of laying down a base coat on your miniature where you think of the ambient colors first. So you're not trying to paint the details of the miniature. You take a gene stealer. You're not trying to paint the skin. You're not trying to paint the eyes. You're not trying to paint the carapace. Oh, do I paint this brown? No. You think, where's it set? What's the scene? What's the surrounding colors that I can see? You're painting essentially everything but the miniature in front of you. So in this case, a lot of the artwork, blues, underwater, violets, you take those colors and you apply them to the miniature. So in this case, we may want to do maybe a little bit of violet on the underneath, maybe a little bit of a Thunderhawk blue on the top, some kind of turquoise to play off against that very strong lighting effect, and then you paint on top. So all the colors that you apply on top of the miniature will be influenced by the underlying coat of your miniature. And that's what I'll be exploring in the video series that will be accompanying this release. And I mean, we may as well talk about now. On the 10th and 11th of August, Hobby Hammer will be here in the studio. Max is coming down. We will be building the gangs, painting the gangs, and then hopefully, if we have time, playing a couple of scenarios as well on the Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm going to be building terrain. In fact, I'm not even going to be doing the gangs. I'm going to be doing the terrain. Damn it!
You're going to be doing terrain, yeah. So we've tentatively have 2 other hobbyists turning up, but I'm pleased to announce, if you're in the local area, if you're available, tickets are on sale right now. If you will be buying a box set and you want it painted in a weekend, come along. Bring your airbrush, bring some of your paints, bring your compressor. And we're only doing 3 tickets, though. There's very, very limited availability for it. And we'll all be painting them together. By the end of that weekend, you will have at least one gang painted from the collection. Yes, that's the caveat for that.
No, I think that's sensible. I think that's a sensible amount. Like, I laugh, but that was in memory of overreaching by far of my own goals.
Absolutely. So it very much is a hobby challenge weekend where I'll be instructing you on things like light placement, development, characterization, colors to use. Hell, what color should I paint this orb? I'll be there to tell you. But very, very limited tickets because the amount of people we can host here. So there's only 3 tickets available for it. And of course, one of the caveats is you need to be in the UK, you need to be available that weekend. But the 10th and 11th of August, we are hosting a painting weekend here at the Legend Studio, home base HQ.
Yeah. I'm just there for witty comments. Like,
he's there for flavour and to record and make the tea and coffee. Even though I've got a bit of a thing about my coffee machine, just don't touch my coffee. I'll make the coffee.
Don't fucking touch my coffee machine.
I'll make the goddamn place. My coffee machine is a very expensive coffee machine. I'll make the coffee. But please don't say nasty things about my coffee either. I'm weirdly precious about it as well. My coffee machine, which I found out when Max was lightly ribbing me over the taste of my coffee.
It was only a tickle. It was only a tickle.
I couldn't sleep that night. I genuinely couldn't. I spent the rest of that week then dialing everything in to make sure I got like a fuller flavor expression from the bean. But talking about fuller flavor expressions from the bean, there's an article released on the 17th of July, which I think is my favorite from the collection, and it talks about the Malstrain gene stealers.
Right.
Malstrain, right. Yeah.
Cool. Well, these are obviously some of the most unique looking parts of the box. The rest of it has like the design language that the rest of Necromunda have. But these are very much hybrid between sort of like regular 40k universe and then somewhat just corrupted and weird, which is a very nice aesthetic to have, I think. Making it creepy and horror filmy and not just 40k. I know we all love that universe, but having like the existential Cthulhu horror aspect to them, I think is a really nice choice. Just for the set in general?
Yeah, and this article talks about some of the design choices that they made and some of the influences. I have to say, I really love these articles because it feels like it's been written by the creators. It's like first-hand. It's not being run through the filter of maybe like a social media manager that has to put in a lot of keywords, searchable terms, and make it like high ranking on Google. No, this is just, we have made the box set. This is the inspiration behind it, and it feels like you're reading a human being rather than ChatGPT.
It's a bit of a callback to, like, we've said actually a few times, it'd be really nice to get the actual designers' opinions on things, like at the old Horrors Heresy Weekenders.
Yeah.
And having the lid lifted where it's not just like polished, marketed approach, and it's back to these conversations with the designers. I think is a real nice touch from Warhammer community.
And you get some real diamonds in here, some real gems. When Alex was talking about the design philosophy of the Gene Stealers, and this is always something that confused me about the lore and the setting. Not enough to go like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Like this entire universe doesn't make any sense. If there are Gene Stealers on Necromunda, why haven't they called the Hive Mind? I mean, in part because there just simply isn't the concentration of them. But I've always had this little thought at the back of my head that there's something to do with the poisonous atmosphere, the recycled food, the recycled air, the recycled people, corpse starch, that just makes this an inhospitable place for the hive mind to really be. And these malstrains are explained as a derivation, that if they were put in contact with the hive mind would be absolutely horrified, and they would want nothing to do with these, with this Biblo offshoot of the Tree of Life or the Tyranid equivalent. And they talk about how they physically made them look different from the core Gene Stealer set, where symmetry and perfection is very much very high on the agenda for the Gene Stealers, because if they have 4 arms, everything's symmetrical. But here, some arms are bigger, some arms are smaller, some are missing heads, and they've even said that they looked at fungal insectoid parasites.
Max, bring up the fungal insectoid parasites.
No, put it up, cute, yeah. And when you look at that, you can understand why the carapace grows up in the way it does. And this leads us on to thinking, perhaps you can do some kind of spores growing on there. There are extra elements that we as artists can bring to this. So we can bring extra like spores growing on there, extra textures growing on there. We could bring on extra colors. We can do things with it, because when you look at the insectoid parasites, you see like some of them having like these little bulbous outgrowths at the very end, like a shockingly different color. And they also talk about some of the references that they looked at were anglerfish. Max, cue it up.
Cue anglerfish. Mate, it's seamless today. It is seamless. It's already there.
But these anglerfish, if you are unsure of what colors to paint your Malstrain Gene Stealers, you have a wealth of information here, ready and raring to go. Boom, it's right there. And I can understand now the color choices made by the artists on here. And you know what the great thing is? They Malstrain, they aren't coherent, they aren't cohesive. So if you like one scheme, try that. If you want to do another, go ahead and do so. These aren't guys in dress uniforms. They aren't meant to be. The whole point is that they aren't symmetrical. Try different color schemes on them. Try different things out on them.
Yeah, he's one of them. And the picture that I've actually got up has got a slight bit of blue tinge to the bottom that I think could tie really well with what we were talking about for the underlighting before. Because I'm desperate to get a paint scheme together to be able to get these on table pretty fast. Yep. Like with the 1v1 campaign, I think it's a real good idea for getting people into Necromunda that might not have previously played it. And yeah, the colour placements of this anglerfish that you've steered us down, really good, because they like you get in the picture of them, you get the depth, the solid black of the depth of the sea, and then coming up to the lighter spots, and that high contrast that we saw in the. Let me flip back to the Gene Stealer pictures.
Yeah.
And
I wish I could take credit for any of this, but it's all in the articles. This is all coming from the design studio. These are the things they thought about. These are the things they churned over, and this is the influence that they put into the miniatures.
Yeah, but it's actually a real nice, like as we say, like a different aesthetic than.
Yeah.
Because the Gene Stealers and stuff before was obviously just pure 80s horror or sci-fi.
Yeah,
horror.
Alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Alien meets The Thing.
Yeah, and I think it gets that extra level of disturbing really well.
Yeah.
Do you know this set? Do you get like Cursed City vibes from it?
Yeah, sort of like the horror aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like how it has been marketed and shown,
Mm.
I think has been, and this
Yeah.
is like a very meta like sort of look at it, but I think it's been shown very well to make me interested.
Yeah.
Like I'm certainly biting at this harder than I've been biting at, say, like the Arthurian Succession, which was the previous campaign plot point for the
Yes.
Helmwar Civil War. I was
Yeah.
just so like I sort of looked at it and was like, not interested at all.
Oh God.
And the
Okay.
art
Can I
of
say
this,
something controversial
yeah, go
here?
for it.
I I don't think that the writers were maybe best suited for exploring this kind of political intrigue in Necromunda.
Mm-mm.
It when I was reading through the alliances, how they break, how they formed, it felt very stodgy. The
Yeah,
storytelling going because it's a very complex interwoven storyline that I'm sure that they had the maps and the conversations and in office. It made sense to them and it was communicated well. Just from the outside looking in, it felt too much like having to do homework.
yeah,
Whereas with this, I'm a simple creature, right? I can refer back. Oh, this is like Alien, or this is like the Thing. I have a much clearer direction of the media context of this,
mm.
and you don't need to over intellectual. You don't need to feel like you need to do homework to this. You have Miles Strange, who are obviously looking like the bad guys. Spire. Yeah, the visual look of it is clearer. Like you said, the intention behind it is very clearer. For me overall, um, big hit. I mean, I haven't even got the box set yet, but just reading through the design philosophy. I mean, I'm looking at the Brood Scum now. They had grown on me. Like perhaps I didn't look at them well enough.
So these are just the Brood Scum, are just the
Yeah,
Underhive Scum
yeah.
with different heads on.
With a Tyrannid like upgrade set to them.
Yeah. You get two Gene Stealer frames in a box. On
Uh-huh.
each one, you get 5 Brood
Yep.
Scum heads. Like it's
Right. So how many Brood Scum are in the game?
questions.
I think it's 8. Hold on, should it say in here?
So I think it's like 8 or 10. Just like
Yeah.
remembering the picture, without massively going on a bigger hunt.
Yeah,
Than
so
we
I
are.
mean, thinking of my own gang, I'm thinking if I make maybe 10 to 12, that's going to be like a healthy amount. Because I mean, they're the bad guys that you want them to. In some scenarios, I'm sure that you'll want like a lot of these just mooks that you could blow away.
Yeah.
So yes, and I kind of had like a design philosophy or like a painting philosophy when it comes to Necromunda that I'll build in a frenzy as many as I can. I'll paint them all in one, and I'll never add to the gang after that.
Yeah.
If I need to add anything to them via credit-wise or game-wise, it will always be sort of like an Ogrin or a hired gun.
Yeah.
But I won't go back and add more characters or more mooks.
So that's what I've been doing,
Uh,
and I agree with you 100%.
yeah.
It's like physically hurt whenever I've had to go back and add members to like normal members to a gang because I've wanted a couple of extra members. It's like it really hurts to go back to this one.
And with Necromunda, I don't think you get that sense of. I think we talked about this last week. That sense of tribalism, like I identify you as like an Iron Warriors player, so I can make fun, like jokes about that, like Imperial Fists. You could wave. Like I'm associated with like Blood Angels, but with Necromunda, I feel like I collect all the gangs. Each one of them has an interest or holds an interest for me in their own different way, and I can just match it. So if I develop one gang, I don't necessarily want to go back to that at a later date. I'd rather collect a new gang with a new concept doing something else.
Yeah, do you know what I've done both ways with this because my Orlocks are like that's my gang, like the Orlocks. But I've also Heresy, as you say, is like one legion. It's taken me like 10 years. I was going to say 12, but he's not 12. It's taken me like 10 years to get a second army that isn't like militia seconded to the Iron Warriors or Solar that are with the Iron Warriors on mech. It's to get a second Marine force has taken me that long. Whereas I did do that faster with Necromunda, though there is that one burning passion, burning desire that is the Orlocks for some reason at the end of the day. So my plan is to add heads, like Gene Stealer heads to the Orlocks, and this will pay me doing that, so that I can then use that as a Gene Stealer infected gang, because there was rules for that in the Book of Ruin, even if there's not new rules for it in this book.
I mean that's a great thing, because you can cross-populate these with actual Gene Stealer cult uprisings as well. It's more like the story than anything else.
Yeah, because they've actually said as well that it's two separate things. Like it doesn't massively cross over because one's pure strain and one, like, and they've intentionally done it like that to enhance that design language.
Otherness feeling to them, yeah. I mean, speaking of new otherness designs, the Spirers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tenuous link, yeah.
I'll go along with that. I'm well happy with that.
So Spirers were always my favourite gang back in Necromunda 96. 96. Because they had, I mean, I was a kid playing this campaign at the time, and for whatever reason or not, you are naturally attracted to powerful factions and gangs, because, I mean, who doesn't like to win when you're a kid? And there was a guy in store who ripped my Redemptionist gang apart. My Redemptionist gang was quite late on in campaign. They had skills, they had development. A new starting Spire gang ripped through them, and he did that awful trick where he retired the rest of the gang. He put all the experience points and he dumped it into one character because he wanted to create Batman. So he had Batman then. But the Spires were always held that fascination. And if I said, okay, if I can only collect one, or if I only the gang I want to see reimagined in this new universe in Necromunda, was it 2000? When was it released? 15? 14?
18. I think it's an 18.
2018. It would have been the Spirers. I'm so happy that they didn't just take the old miniatures and say, well, here we go, there's slightly bigger ones. No. They've gone through a complete design overhaul with these guys. To the point
I'm
where...
on the old ones now. So which
great.
one are you? I'll flick to the new one, and then you can describe through it.
Right, I think the Aurus would be...
How professional it was being.
Yeah, the Aurus would be probably the best one to go for, because I think that's the most visually distinct.
Yeah, that's the one with the artwork at the top as well, so that's
perfect, yeah. And that's the one that comes in the box set as well. So the Aurus, big, chunky. You have a sort of like a dreadnought outline. Oh, sorry, I should wash my mouth out with soap. It's nothing like a dreadnought, because they very explicitly talk about in this that this is alien manufacture, alien technology, because imperialistic technology is all framed around a fist. It's sturdy, it's strong, it's inevitable. But here you have curving lines that are very alien-esque in nature. And you'll notice is that the outline of the miniature isn't quite human, because in order to fit into these suits, you have to go through certain operations. So your spine, in the Aurus, spine needs to be reinforced. You have to have amputations in some cases, like the Marcadon. You have to have your bones hollowed out in terms of the Yeld. You lose eyes, nose, ears. And they talk about that these scars, when you then go into high society, are a mark of honor in Necromundan high society, that if you got a guy with missing legs, you know he was part of a Spire hunting party. And another interesting thing I think they've done lore-wise is that they've consolidated all the Spire hunters under Lord Hellmauer. So it's under the Imperial House. If you aren't a member of the Imperial House, you cannot get a contract to wear one of these suits and hunt down Hive or in Hive Secundus. And they do talk about,
why would he give such powerful alien tech to
exactly? And they do talk about, well, if you feel limited by this outline, no need to worry, because Lord Hellmauer and the Imperial House is rather large, and you have offshoots, you have bastards, you just have like this extended family tree that stretches out not for centuries, but for thousands of years. So if you're inhibited, pretty much everyone can say that they're a Hellmauer. They got a little bit of Hellmauer in them.
Got a little bit of the psycho crazy.
Got a little bit of Hellmar in there. So for you, Max, what do you think's been the best upgrade and the most noticeable upgrade?
Of the kits.
Yes.
Oh, do you know what? It's actually I've got to say that the Horus I think is the biggest good check because it was just so.
Yeah.
I wasn't in love with Spires as a kid, and that Horus is the derpiest looking model, and not in a Solar Macarius like sort of it grows on you way, in a way of just like I'll just never come to terms with it. So for it to go to something that is within universe making sense and like a nice design, I think they've done really well with.
Mm.
The Yeld, I think, has a good sense of movement. I think it could be maybe increased a bit more by chopping those wings, or do you know, like just enhancing the angle,
right? Okay,
something like that.
Yeah,
rather than it being just a silhouette like wings up, having it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
More.
And we have to say that the Yeld Jakara Malkadon kits are interchangeable as well. So if you do want a Yeld that's kind of like standing there with his wings up triumphant, you can mix and match in between them.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I'm not sure whether that extends to weaponry as well. So you could have like a Malkadon claw on a Yeld frame. But I know in one of the earlier articles, they did talk about the light and the heavy distinctions between them. So all the lights can be interchanged. So if you do like the planted stance with the wings upheld, you can go with that. So there are possibilities to I mean, looking at the Jakara sculpt, you could kind of do something like who's the Raven Guard Primer? Korax, where he's coming down and like shattering the ground underneath him, and the Yeld is kind of like shooting down at whatever enemy is below him.
Where did you rank Korax?
I can't remember.
I don't think it was good.
I honestly can't remember.
Don't match the Korax design. In fact, no. Go back and watch the video. And
go back and watch the video because I can't remember it. Yeah.
Where did we put it?
I honestly can't remember where I put it.
But it's an objective, completely non-changeable scoring system that we use, Miles. We should just know
it off
miniature. The top of our head.
It's a good miniature. It's a technical marvel. But yes, the Spire kit, I think it's an absolute triumph. And the sculptor of this has left Games Workshop. He runs his own like STL service now. He runs his own Patreon. Stephen Sculpts and Designs, and he put up a post talking about how the original design philosophy behind this, or the thinking behind the color scheme, he thought that these should be like individual house livery instead of that kind of like this metallic shifting scheme.
Yeah,
so
like
I'm hoping. Yes, yeah, I'm really hoping I can sort of like pump him for a little bit of information on what exactly he means by that, because that sounds like a killer concept. And if I could paint that concept, if I could translate it onto these miniatures, I mean, what better way to honor the original sculptor in these fantastic redesigns, right? To kind of like bring his image or into reality.
Well, maybe, mate, you just need to get hold of the Bretonians book and just look at from 6th and just look at all the heraldry and do something based on the primary colours there.
That's the thing. Where'd you put it? Where'd you put the heraldry? I mean, these even though there are a lot of like negative spaces, there aren't really spaces enough to put like a Pegasus. They'd need like a shield or something on them.
It'd probably just have to be colour, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it could be color. It could be something to do with like the design. If you put like stripes or squares or checkerboard patterns on them, that would be interesting to do. Yes, but yeah, I do want to pump in for a little bit of information to see if there's any like flashes of inspiration in there.
Yeah.
Oh, and another last thing on these, a cool little design philosophy on their chest is a little coffin. Because them transferring into this suit is kind of like a little mini death for them. It's in essence they're a coffin.
Ah, interesting. I always thought he was their like kill counter box that they have.
It could be that. Oh, that'd be a cool idea to like write a number on them.
Oh, that is their actual kill count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would have to change after every game, so you need to go back and scrub them out.
And they have to be digitized numbers, so you'd have to
Yes.
painstakingly paint those like
Yeah.
solid square lines and get them.
And they have to be legible as well.
Yeah,
Can't
exactly.
just look like a
It's
blob.
a challenge. It's on.
It has to be OSL.
Lit
well.
from the inside with an LED.
Shall we talk about the? Oh yeah. If you're not doing it, you're a casual. You're a what's the phrase people use now? A tourist. That's it.
A filthy guy.
I read Twitter. Okay, should we talk about the Van Saars next?
Yeah. No, I think these are one of the quickest ones to talk about. Like, cause since we've, and this is gonna, I've said this in a negative way, but I actually really like the additions to the Van Saar, because the Van Saar have got a really nice vibe to them anyway. Like, if anyone's watched Altered Carbon, there's the cyber soldiers that go to different planets. I've got this sort of design, like the multi-eyed helmet, a segmented arm, and I know that's just like getting tropey now in sci-fi, but it's a really cool design language that we don't see elsewhere, really, in 40k, to have that like bug-eyedness. As you say, like he's like a fist, inevitable like a fist, simple. Yeah. And this isn't. It's sleek and almost Eldar.
I have to admit, because of that, they always felt like they jibed with the overall look of the Necromunda aesthetic. And I've converted up versions of these. They're like a little bit run down, but a student came up with just a streak of genius of taking the Delac heads and putting them on these bodies. So you have like these big oversuits, like these big armored suits. They look like big, tough soldiers, but then they have like these really emaciated, cancer-ridden heads that I think works better as but having said all that, I'm not sure whether I'm just coming around to the design now or something about these new designs just does it for me. But I'm looking at the Biotechnicist. Yeah, well. Yeah. Augur Tech, the Technomat, the Gun Tech, dude with big gun. Yeah, I'm really liking these designs. I am softening on the Van Saar look and the aesthetic. I assume every gang would be able to play in this campaign, maybe?
So it's surely on... So I'm just going to flick off onto the Book of Desolation. Now, the actual set there we go. Is just the 1v1 campaign. I think they've said that it's like self-contained, like a lot of them are. But Book of Desolation will certainly...
There we go. So there are 4 new gang rosters. So we have the Malstrains, we have Spirers, we have...
Secundian incursion gangs,
Yeah, so I'm guessing that would be like an upgrade for all gangs then?
Yeah, surely. Like, it will just be how you play your house gang.
Because we can see in this article pictures of Goliaths in here as well. So, like the Van Saar, there'll be extra technology that you add on top of like a base gang that you'll then can go into this universe to plunder.
And it would be absolutely mental not to allow other people's gangs. Because I know we said we'd switch about a bit more than Heresy, but there is something nice about taking the same gang through a load of situations and just seeing who emerges not dead at the end. I'm not going to say victorious, I'm going to say not dead.
Not dead, yeah.
Yeah. And man, like taking your like random Goliath gang that are full of idiots into like Gene Stealer territory that can rip their arms off Space Marine Terminators and seeing who can survive. Sounds really cool to me.
And then you got the 3 Dramatis Personae at the bottom, all really good sculpts. I was a little bit perturbed about the Gene Stealer the Patriarch, the one with like the massive, massive hand.
Hmm.
It makes a lot more sense now, but I think I still will be replacing that hand or maybe leaving it off completely. As sort of like because I think it would look a lot creepier if it was like this little vestige of a hand.
Or like a withered one rather than.
Yeah, like this,
Over.
maybe like a withered human hand, maybe like curling up. And it'd be so funny if that fist had special rules and it acted like a power fist or something. And instead, like mine had this like little withered hand to go alongside it.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really. I'm looking forward to Necromunda for the first time in a while. That is our cast, I think, for this week, Miles. Like, excited about Necromunda.
That's us really getting juiced up for Necromunda. Yeah. So another little plug: if you're available on the 10th and 11th of August, and you have a box set and you want it painted by the end of that weekend, and you just so happen to find yourself in sunny South Wales, that's the old South Wales, not the any other South Wales, the original South Wales, just to say. Tickets are available right now via Little Legend Studio on the events page. We're only issuing 3 tickets, just purely because of the space and the people we've invited already. Otherwise, I think in our next episode, we aren't doing it live, are we? No.
When? Is it next one?
No. We go.
No, he's in a couple.
What are we gonna do? Yeah, it's a couple before that. God, what are we gonna do?
For next time, we don't have to say. We'll have an episode next week.
Yeah, it won't be as good as this one though.
None of them ever are.
Okay, bye.
Right. See you in a bit.